One of the hardest parts of starting your voiceover journey is figuring out exactly what path to follow. There are so many experts giving what is often conflicting information and advice that it can be hard to know who and what to trust. My guest today has been there, lived that, and come out on the other side with a growing voiceover business. His clients include Audi, the EPA, and the Modern War Institute at West Point. Welcome to the show, Patrick Kirchner.
We need to update that because I am... Actually, I don't know if I can say, yeah, they signed the contract and there's no NDA. I just became the voice of Gojo again for another year.
There you go. See, I just grabbed those off your website.
Yeah.
So you better get on your website and get your website updated because...
among the many things that you got to stay on top of as you...
Add it to the list.
Yep. And the list keeps growing.
So I'm very curious about your story to start. How does a career military man end up as a voice actor?
I just told this story yesterday. So, and I'll try and make it shorter. So why did I want to do voiceover? Well, first of all, like in first grade,
because your t-shirt says,
because your mom thinks I have a great voice.
Oh, that's a great story.
So did Sister Loretta. So I would be the MC at every spring concert, talent show, whatever, through grammar school. And I was in the band too. So, put down the trumpet, go over to the microphone and quiet.
Right.
And then and I was like 19 or 20 when Who Framed Roger Rabbit came out. And I'd always done the cartoon things as a kid, but I saw that and I'm like, oh my God.
That was a great
It's still
movie, by the way.
something that can still be, it's still something that can be done.
Yep.
Cartoons aren't dead.
Right.
So that was always in the back of my mind. And I would joke whenever someone would go, hey, Pat, what are you going to do when you get out of the Marine Corps? So I'm going to do cartoon voiceovers. Well, I'm not doing animation, but but it was always there and it was always kind of a
not doing animation or not doing animation yet.
I'm on a pilot that's supposedly still being shot. So
we're still working towards the animation then. So it's not that you're not doing it. We're just, it's still a work in progress.
Yeah, there's very few things I'll turn down, like an anti-bacon ad. I'd turn that down in a heartbeat.
Amen.
But you got to put the bar somewhere.
That's right. There has to be a line that will not be crossed, and bacon is a good place to put that line.
Yeah. So the last decade of my career, mostly I looked at the deep future and strategic foresight stuff. And one of the civilian working groups I was with, guy was getting ready to retire from General Motors on their foresight team. He said, Pat, I think you'd be a great fit. Why don't you interview for the job? So I did. Went through 4 rounds of interviews. The last one was like a 2-hour Zoom interview with a half a dozen people in it. And this is the 1st of June of 17.
Okay.
And at the end of the interview, the guy, he goes, you had any questions? And I said, yeah, if General Motors decides to hire me, how quickly would I be expected to displace and move back up to Detroit? And he said, well, we've never seen General Motors move this fast on anything. And the team has to be in place by the end of the month, but we can't onboard anybody until mid-July. Because as you may or may not know, all the auto industry shuts down for the first half of July. So they can retool the factories for the fall
ready for
lines,
new models.
Right?
Yep. Gotcha. Okay.
Like, why am I being interviewed right now? And shamefully, I put all my eggs in that basket.
Okay.
Because it certainly seemed like a lock. And, I was looking at, hey, my great-grandfather's house still has not, in downtown Detroit, still has not been refurbished. So I could buy that, rebuild it, and go on with life.
Start your own HGTV show while you're at it.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there dejected on the couch the next day, and my wife goes, hey, you've talked about voiceover as long as I've known you. Why don't you, I'm going to coupon for a voiceover seminar, sadly, at Demo Mill. Sorry, everybody. Why don't you go look at
That's
this?
why we're here.
That's right. So, and I think if you got people to be honest at a conference and had them raise their hand, shifting gears, and said, how many of you have been through a demo mill yet are still here?
Yep.
I think
there's a lot of people there's a lot of hands that would go up 100%.
Yeah.
So a very wise and supportive spouse is
in fact,
responsible
she's the one
or
that
to
came up with
blame.
the company name. You know, and she's continued to support me through the roller coaster ride that is voiceover,
which is so key, by the way. So
yeah.
key, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're cheap, fast, and easy. You can only get 2 of the 3. This is
So
neither cheap nor fast nor easy.
Oh, well, you know what? That leads perfectly into the next question, because one of the most controversial things that I've ever said on this podcast, and I think it might have been the first or second episode that I did, and it was not meant to be controversial. It was meant to be sincere. It was meant to be an honest assessment of what it takes to start a voiceover business. But I suggested that if you were planning to build a business the right way, that you could easily expect to invest $10,000 to $15,000 at a minimum by the time you pay for coaching, demos, etc. And that was just to get you started, right? That's not the whole shot. That's to get you started. So you've built your business in what I would consider to be a smart and professional way. You started.
Certainly seems that way from the outside, doesn't it?
We started working together around what, 2019, 2020, 28.
Yeah.
Was it that? Was that long ago? My gosh.
Yeah.
So you've been doing this for a minute. You know what you're talking about. So how wrong are my numbers?
I think they're low.
Low to start, or low if you factor in over the first, few startup years, ultimately where you're going to invest? Plus adjusted for inflation.
Plus adjusted for inflation. I think do you have to go to conferences? No. Do you have to go to Euro Retreat? No. Do you have to have a $3,000 mic to start? No.
No.
Should you start with a $150 mic?
Yeah.
The number I use is 20 grand.
I think, when at the time that I said that 10 to 15, I mean, that was probably going back 4 or 5 years now. And so that, we're probably, by the time if you figure demos are what, they're running 2,500 on average.
Yeah.
Is that fair? Right.
Yeah.
Coaching has gone from like 150 to what? Most coaches now are 250 an hour, somewhere in there.
I think you can, it depends on the coach. And yeah, so as the economy, which never truly recovered from COVID, from the pandemic.
Yep.
Prices went up.
Yeah.
Everything went along with it. That's
why I started making my own bacon.
It's easier and it tastes better, man. It's
a heck of a lot cheaper.
The only real expense to that, aside from the pork belly going up, but it pays for itself, is you got to get a meat slicer.
Yes. Because you do need a good meat slicer.
The hand slicing, they're all uneven, and
never want to do that. So the prices
of everything go
up.
So the price of everything goes up.
Now you got me thinking about bacon. I got a one-track mind.
Yeah, Lily almost got a brisket last year off of the counter, like a full packer.
That would be
tragic. My German Shepherd. Sorry,
yes,
everybody.
That would be tragic.
Yeah. All right, where were we? We were talking about prices going up and the cost of coaching. So there are still coaches, experienced coaches, who will work with novices. This is where I put my plug for take the word newbie out of your vocabulary.
Absolutely.
Great, because nobody wants to work with a newbie. I get it. It's cute. It's disarming.
Yep.
Don't listen to me. I'm just a newbie. I have a question. Well, nobody wants to work with a newbie except to take advantage of them. So take the word out of your vocabulary.
Right.
It's only used in the pejorative. When someone refers to someone as a newbie, they're not saying a nice thing about them. Novices, newcomer, whatever you want to use. We all love you. We all want to support you. And that's the great thing about this community, about this industry. It's not just the little communities that revolve around VOpreneur or VO Booth Besties or any of the others. They're all wonderful people. They all want to support the whole
just
industry.
On the whole, like it's a pretty supportive industry. And my whole thing has always been from the very, very beginning too, is that on the whole, the more that people who have been around for a while can help those that are coming in, that makes the industry better as a whole, right? Because if you got a bunch of people who are coming in who don't know what they're doing or don't do it the right way, it can make the industry as a whole look bad, look amateur, etc. So it's in everybody's best interest for everybody to be doing this in the best way possible.
And we learn that by example. When when we dive into the pool, if everyone is helping us stay afloat and helping us learn how to swim, that's great. If guys are playing, hey, I'm going to swim over and I'm going to dunk you because that's what we do to newcomers. I'm going to hold you underwater until you almost pass out. Then that's a learned behavior too.
Yep.
But those people don't tend to last long in the pool.
That's right.
And that's the good thing about the industry. Nobody wants to work with them. Nobody wants to be around them. They're gone in a year and a half. Anyone who comes on with that kind of edge. Anyways,
so
back
you
to
say
money.
20. You say 20 grand, eh?
I say 20 grand. If you take into account now, you can extend that timeline as long as you.
Of course.
want.
I mean,
But
I'm 10
what
or
I think
I'm
for
11
initial.
years into my full-time business, and I'm still spending money. Like I'm constantly investing back in my business, right? So, but we're just strictly talking startup costs to get that initial coaching that gets you ready for your first demo or your first couple demos. Get your studio set up, get your website set up. If you're going to do a logo design and business card or branding or, all of those things, there's 1,000 other little things that add up, right? Not everything is a $2,500 demo expense, but registering your domain, paying for your hosting, getting your website built, all of these sorts of things, they all start to add up, but they're all things that need to be accounted for, right?
Yeah. And some of them you can do on the cheap, and some of them it shows that you tried to do it on the cheap.
Yep.
I like to say, as far as booths, and I started with moving blankets from Harbor Freight, which was a mistake because you got to take them outside and let them. Yeah, but you got to take them outside and let them off gas for like 3 days in the sun before you can
bring them into the house.
And they were hung from the rafters in the basement. And I had a, God bless Booth Junkie. Booth Junkie's got some great videos out there, and someone turned me on to watching his stuff and helped me set up my basic booth with a Zoom V5, whatever it was, Zoom 5, which was in retrospect, a terrible way to do voiceover, like record into this thing and then pull the little SD card out, take it to a computer and start editing. I don't know how to edit. I've always been kind of a DIY guy, but
I started with an EVRE20 because that's what I used in radio. So I was like, oh, that must be a good mic. So now, of course, that's generally considered to be one of the worst voiceover microphones ever. I was six-figure talent, right? I was a six-figure talent before I got my first actual booth. I recorded when I was first starting out full-time. I recorded in the living room of my apartment, and I just stuffed pillows and curtains and blankets and things around me to try to dampen the sound a little bit. Then I upgraded to a spare bedroom, but in the spare bedroom, because I moved into a new apartment, but even there, I was very limited with what I was allowed to do because it was an apartment. It's not like I could build things or whatever. So it's, strategic positioning of panels and carpets and furniture and things like that. When we first moved into the house that we're in now, same thing, was a spare bedroom and strategic placement of panels and all that sort of stuff. And then finally, I was able to build the booth that I had always dreamed of. But I think that part of that feels like a rite of passage in the industry, right? You've got to start recording in like the worst environment possible, the closet, the basement, the whatever. That's just how we do it, and eventually grow into your studio bricks or your whisper room or your bear cave or whatever it is that you ultimately get to.
I saw someone post the other day that they were going to start in their closet, and they had clearly done their research. They bought a bunch of good gear. And I think the gear aspect is kind of like my mother taught me about buying furniture. If you buy cheap furniture, you're going to replace it every 3 or 4 years. If you buy good furniture, it's going to last you a couple decades. Right? And that is absolutely true. But good furniture is expensive. How many times are you going to buy furniture though? You're going to keep buying furniture. And I moved, 17 times, 18 times in 31 years. So, if you move 3 times, you might as well.
That's a lot of times to tear apart your IKEA furniture and try to get it to fit back together again the same way.
There is one piece of IKEA furniture in this house, and it was not my choice to buy. But we had 4 people working on that. It's the bed in the guest room, and we had 4 people working on that. And oh my God. Anyways,
I feel you, man. I just built one.
But all that initial investment in gear is, I'm not using any of it right now. Any of it. The microphone stand has been donated to Mavo.
Yep.
The Zoom is in a box in my office upstairs. The headphones, these are the original headphones. So I lied. Yeah.
My toddler runs around with my RE20 and uses it to pretend to, do whatever it is that she pretends to do. So yeah, it's a valid point, right? How many microphones how many microphones do you buy until you get to the microphone that you want? And then did you really save any money ultimately? No. So that leads me to an interesting point though. So two-part question. Smartest investment you made early on, and one investment that you wish you could have back, whether it was just, this was stupid, I shouldn't have bought it, or I wasn't ready and I should have waited.
Well, the demo mill, that's the obvious answer for that one.
Right.
Smartest investment, I would say the most useful investment thus far has been this whisper room, this treated whisper room that I'm sitting in. And again, I owe thanks to Booth Junkie, because as you know, if you've been in an empty whisper room, it's boxy.
It's very boxy.
He had a great video on, this is Owens Corning 703, 2-inch, OC 703 or 702. I have to look it up. But the ceiling and the walls on the upper side are all 2-inch Owens Corning, and the RLX that came with the whisper room is on the bottom half of the room. But that's less important. So this is, I found this for $1,800 on Craigslist.
Yeah.
In Western Tennessee. Someone in the Northern Virginia voiceover group posted a link, said, "Oh, I found this." I called the dude up and said, "You still got it? Take cash. I'll see you tomorrow." And I got in my truck.
In the car, away we go.
900 miles. I drove there. The guy, he got such a nice guy too. He goes, "It's a part. If you want, I'll put it back together so we can take it apart together and you can see how it goes." I go, "Okay." And he did.
Wow.
So I showed up. We disassembled it, loaded it in the truck. His pastor came over and congratulated him because he had just been hired as the singer for the church to do services. They're just really good salt of the earth people. And I paid $1,800 for this 4x4 whisper room.
I have never talked to a voice actor who made the investment in a booth that regretted it. Although almost every one of them in the beginning obviously had that butt-puckering fear of how much they were about to spend, right? And so I totally get that. They can get really pricey. Obviously, you scored an amazing deal, and it's a testament to, like, look, search Kijiji, search Craigslist, whatever. But it's one of those investments that I've never heard anybody regret, because look, your Neumann may be the most beautiful, fancy microphone in the world, but if you're not recording in the right space, it's going to pick up a flea fart from 500 feet. And then what are you going to do? Right. So
it'll pick
doesn't
up
surprise me that that's your best.
And in this treated whisper room, and nobody's ever complained about my audio.
Yep.
Right. Until I got the Neumann in here, the U87, and this room is too small for the U87. So the U87 sits out covered on the shelf outside the booth, gathering dust until I get a bigger space built.
And you said you got a 4x4?
It's a 4x4. Yeah.
So what would you, if you had the opportunity to go back and do it again, what size?
I'm limited by the space in the basement. This fits absolutely perfectly where it goes.
Okay, space isn't an issue. You can get what size you want. What size would you get?
Budget.
Budget's not an issue.
I would build the dang space out.
Yeah, just build it out.
Yeah.
I see J. Michael with his room, right, that he built in Lobster Manor, and I see Bev Standing recently posted that she was thinking about doing the same thing of just treating a room and having a room. And I think about, when I've gone into Toronto to record at studios in Toronto, you're in a booth, but it's a room, right?
It's a room.
And it's nice to have room to move around. Mine is basically a 6x6, but it's got a part angled wall in it. And sometimes it feels a little, I feel a little bit confined, right?
Is it the diamond one?
No, mine's a custom built thing that I built it right into my basement. And Uncle Roy said, when I asked him what I needed to do, what do I do when I'm building a booth? And he said, make sure you've got an angled wall. And I'm like, okay. So I, put one part angled wall in it. But even still, sometimes, like I said, 6x6, sometimes it feels a little bit tight, but
I actually just tested. I finally, after thinking about this for months and months and months and months, I took the microphone and the rig and the Mic Hero. I love my little Mic Hero. Up to the office, plugged in, and recorded a couple minutes and sent it to Roy. And I go, what do you hear? And he goes, I get a little room reflection. So in the office, where I've got just bookshelves and it's loaded, there's not a lot of reflective space, but the ceiling. So I think the first thing would be to put a ceiling cloud in.
Yep.
Although I still get road noise coming in upstairs. Here, I'm in the basement, and Marine One can fly over the top of the house, and I'll see it on the
line.
Yeah, I'll see it on the floor. But yeah.
So you said your worst investment was the demo mill. I started offering free 15-minute consultations a few years ago, and I did that entirely in response to a growing number of voice actors who are being taken advantage of by demo mills, predatory coaches, etc. And I thought, if I can give somebody 15 minutes of my time and point them in the direction of somebody better, if I can save even a few people from that pain, then it's worth it for me to do these 15-minute consults. And that's honestly the reason why I started doing them and why I still continue to do them. So for somebody who is getting started, what do they need to know to protect themselves from falling down that trap? What are the red flags or the things that they should be looking out for?
That's why I wrote those 3 LinkedIn articles with your help.
So and we'll put those in the show notes.
Okay.
Yeah, we can definitely put those in the show notes.
I need to update it because Open Coaches doesn't exist anymore, sadly.
Ah, yes, I remember that site. Yeah.
I wrote those articles. I sent it to you. I sent it to Bridget. I sent it to Jay Michael and a few other people. Just review this. Make sure I'm not putting anything stupid out there, right?
Right.
Every few months, those things will get resurrected on LinkedIn, and I'll get a phone call that'll go, "Oh my God, I think I just got caught in a demo mill. What do I do?"
Yeah. Right.
And I'm like, how far are you into the demo mill? Because if you've already recorded and gotten your demo, all I can tell you is keep telling them you don't like it and change the music until you're happy with it. Oops, sorry, bleep.
Everything can be fixed in post.
You can just sit there. If they have something stupid in there like "until you're happy," which is not entirely stupid. I mean, Jay Michael has that.
Yep.
In his contract, and I think to this day he's only given one person their money back because he couldn't make them happy. But
which is inevitable, right? If you work with enough people, eventually you're going to find that one person. But
yeah, I mean, I'm not the easiest demo client, but if I could do it myself, I would. But at least I'm specific when I tell them what I would. Yeah. Okay, move this word right on top of this drum beat. Perfect. Okay, let's move to the next one. Space between these two phrases is a little too long. Tighten it up just a little bit. Anyways.
I think it's important, though, that people understand that, regardless of who you're working with, obviously we want you to work with a great demo producer. But even if you do get stuck with a demo mill, I think often one of the reasons why they end up in the 15-minute consultation with me is because they're not happy with their demo and they're trying to figure out what to do. But there's this fear of going back and asking for, fix it, or can we make this right? Or can we change that or whatever? Because it's like, they're the experts and I'm the new talent or whatever, but you're a paying customer. I mean, if you order something from Amazon and it's broken, what do? You send it back. You don't just say, well, they're the expert on this thing, so it must be right. And I just must not know how to use it. Like, you package it up and you send it back. But when it comes to demos, we're so afraid to speak up. We're so afraid to ask somebody to fix something, change something, tweak something, whatever.
It's your demo. It's your, it's kind of two sides of that. One, it's your demo. It's your calling card, but it's also the demo producer's calling card.
100%.
Right?
100%.
They got their name on it too.
Yep.
If you're not happy with it, you're going to tell people, I got this demo and I'm not that happy with it.
Word of mouth can spread very quickly, positively or negatively.
Yeah. Bad gas. What's bad gas travels fast in a small
That's
town?
Right.
Quoting Letterkenny.
So
it's a Canadian TV show about hockey.
So how do we vet these people?
How do you vet what people?
How do you vet? How do you know? How do you, if you're, you saw that ad or you got that coupon or whatever, how do you figure out, are there things that you can look for that say this might be a demo mill? Like, are there certain things that we should be keeping an eye out for?
Yeah. 6 voiceover lessons and a $2,500, or $3,000 or whatever. $3,000, you'll get six 1-hour voiceover lessons over 6 weeks. And then a demo. Then you'll record your demo.
And so the assumption is that everybody on earth is ready for a demo after 6 lessons, which
oh my God, no.
Yeah. Obviously not the reality. I remember working with Dan Ganguza on my e-learning demo in 2019, I think it was, and having made a crap ton of money in the e-learning space, right? Like one of my most lucrative genres, and working in it for years. And I think I did 10 sessions with Dan before I did an updated version of my e-learning demo. And so, I mean, if that's me at that point already booking consistently in the genre, then yeah, if you're new and starting out, you're probably, unless you're a prodigy or you have some sort of theatrical or improv background or something like that, you're probably not demo ready in 6 lessons.
Even if you came from a theater background, it doesn't mean you're ready for a voiceover demo.
Yeah, totally different thing. Yep.
Yeah. And taking nothing away from theater actors, aside from the fact that now they use microphones, I think they're cheating. You don't have to reach the ears of the guy in the last row.
Right.
You just have to talk to the other side of the microphone. That's as far as you have to get. And that's a difficult lesson for many of them to learn. And same with on camera. On camera, you're not worried about the microphone. It's just a different space to work in. You were a firefighter. Structures are different from aircraft.
Yep.
Right? Aircraft firefighting is not the same as industrial firefighting versus household firefighting.
100%.
All different. So other red flags for a demo mill. Quite frankly, you've got one of the, I don't know if you're the biggest, but you've certainly got a large following on Facebook with the VOpreneur group, right? I don't think I've ever seen you pitch someone who has come in there looking for help.
Yeah.
Right? You have your times of year set aside to go, VO marketing playbooks coming up. I put this all together. It has been said that you don't know anything more than anyone else. I can go to the library and I can get all these books for free and learn marketing. Yes, you can. But Marc has already gone to school for it, and he has digested all that experience in this package for you. It's worth it. Other voiceover groups, people go in, ask for the question. I'm looking for a coach. Hey, I'm just getting started. What do I do? No, first of all, use the search function. Don't ask what the best microphone is. And then never trust a coach who pitches you directly on a website. I remember when I started working with Cliff. In fact, I met him in Atlanta and was out to dinner with him and said, I really want to get an automotive demo with you. And I look forward to working with you. He goes, if you want to work with me, email me and then follow up, because I don't have time to chase clients around. I'm too busy. I got other stuff going on. No coach worth their salt is going to chase you down so that they can work with you. They're too busy.
No,
and it costs money to coach. Jay Michael told me years ago, he goes, hey, I charge $300 or $350 for an hour of coaching at the time to do a one-off.
Yep.
I could be making 5 times that sitting in the booth for an hour doing work, doing auditions, sending stuff out. Right?
100%. Yep. It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
So even though he is not cheap, it's part of his give back to the community. He makes himself available to bring along new people.
Well, and I've said that too, right? I mean, I was very fortunate to have some good people that I discovered early on. And thankfully I discovered the right people early on who were mentors to me, whether it was directly or, virtual mentors, just people that I followed and learned from virtually. And so I do feel blessed to be in a position where I can help some other people out the way that I was helped when I was starting out. And so I think that's certainly important. So aside from your coaching, which I think everybody's in agreement, that's like the most important thing that we need to do. What's one of the best learning tools that you've benefited from in your career?
Gravy for the brain.
It's like going to the library, man, right? You talked about going to the library. That is like going to the library.
That is the cheapest.
Yes.
Wait, that is your best bang for the buck for your voiceover investment. We separate, and you'll hear this in our class at VO Atlanta. We separate education and training. So education is all the book knowledge. What's the difference between a shotgun mic and a what's the difference between a 416 and U87? Let's put it that way, because dynamic and condenser are jumped out of my brain for a minute there. What are the genres for voiceover, right? You do not want to spend money with a coach on coaching hours learning that stuff.
Yeah.
Peter and Hugh and J. Michael and Bevan Graham have all put that stuff, and everybody now that it's all global.
Now it's global. Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah. They have. I got lucky. I got in early on. Back when you had a rate, and then they lowered it for Black Friday. And like, oh, can I get the Black Friday rate? Sure. And then I was in for life on the Black Friday rate, which is like $24 a month.
Yep.
Anyways, that money, whether it's 25 or $50 a month, and if you don't use it, you can hit pause on your subscription, right? That money is your best investment. You're not paying coaching dollars for that. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of content to learn about an industry that, if you're a novice walking in from a different industry, you have no clue the depth of stuff that is involved.
That's actually, in my 15-minute consults, that is one of the most common things that I give people is I refer them to Gravy for the Brain. And I said, a couple reasons. One, it's affordable, right? $50 or $60 a month or whatever it is. I'm like, even if you only do it for a couple of months, and you just have this like deep dive into all things voiceover, from the studio and tech to the marketing to the different genres and all that sort of stuff. And so I said that in and of itself makes it a worthy investment for new voice actors that are starting out. And the second part of that, I think, is Gravy for the Brain is a highly reputable organization. And so one of the hardest things when you're getting started is figuring out who you can trust. And I feel confident in saying that if there is somebody that is teaching with Gravy for the Brain, a producer, a coach, a casting director, whatever, an agent, that is somebody who is, I think, can be trusted, somebody who is vetted. So once you've done that initial immersive education experience in Gravy for the Brain and you've decided, I really think I'm interested in this genre, now you've got a couple of names of potential coaches or potential demo producers who can help you get towards that genre, who are people that that you can trust because they're in that ecosystem. And so it's interesting to hear you say that that's the best investment that you've made, because it's one of the number one recommendations that I make to people. And just to be clear, like, I'm not affiliated with Gravy for the Brain. I'm not getting a kickback for anybody that signs up for Gravy for the Brain. I just think it's legit. I just think it's a great place to go.
I should say I am biased. I was given the Inspiration Award in 2020. Mm-hmm. It was during pandemic because I was sitting in this booth for it. And Hugh gave me a lifetime subscription. So I'm a lifetime member. Right. So I am a little biased, but it doesn't change
but for good reason, right? Because it's there. The quality is there. And I don't know. I mean, yes, Ann Gangusa does VO Peeps, totally legit organization.
GVAA.
GVAA is another totally legit organization. So there's a few different places where you can go and you can find some some classes, some workshops. The Long Island voiceover takeover, Levo is another. They do some great workshops. Val with Mavo is doing some great workshops. So there's a lot of
Rhonda
places where you
Phillips
can
does
go.
Late Night Secrets,
Yeah.
which is always good. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of places where you can go and you can find some affordable workshops and get some introductions. But I think Gravy has the most extensive library, I think, probably. And strategic library, like courses that are like really like the ultimate beginner classes, and then working your way through to stuff that's in there for, more seasoned veteran voice actors.
Their small business class, and I haven't gone through it in a while, and it's probably 6 years old now, 7 years old, 6 years old. Amazing. I mean, there's 3 branding modules in there that get into color theory and get into the psychology of fonts. Yep. And branding, if I'll just touch on that for a moment, branding is not a thing you do. I did not wake up one day and go, you know what? I'm a hockey fan. I think I'll be the hockey voiceover. I'll be the voiceover goalie or whatever. It's not just some random thing. It is a process that you go through and figure out what it is about you that makes you the right voice for a given style. You end up tapping into yourself and learning more about yourself. And it can be a little bit terrifying, but it doesn't have to be. But that whole branding process that's in, which I did in conjunction with Celia Siegel and her book, and then in consultation with her. Yeah. Yep. So those in combination are how I ended up coming up with my brand. And my brand the colors haven't changed, the design hasn't changed. We updated a little bit. But it's remained consistent because I'm confident that after I got through the initial thing where I was Vox Pro Pat with a cool microphone, now I have a cooler microphone with an exclamation point in it and sound attention.
It's that another rite of passage. Every logo must have a microphone at some point.
The same microphone.
Yes, right? The exact same clip art from Microsoft clip art, 1985.
Yeah, or multiple fonts, or oddball colors. Don't decide to be the voiceover handyman because there's already been 20 of them.
Celia's book is a great, I'm going to link that up in the show notes as well, because I do think for any voice actor, not just new voice actors, I think for any voice actor, Celia's book is, that should be like required reading because of what you're going to learn from that one. So let me ask you, do you think you said you started in 2018?
2017.
Okay. Do you think there's a timeline for success? Do you think there's like you start here, you get to here, you get to here? Is there a timeline that follows? Does it, or does it really just genuinely vary from voice actor to voice actor? And what do you think is realistic? Because I think that's the one I'm most interested in hearing your response to, because there are a lot of coaches that are out there that I think pitch incredibly unrealistic expectations of what is possible to accomplish in voiceover. So what are your thoughts on that?
It'd be a lot easier if I were writing this, because then I'd be able to really organize it, telling you, no, this goes first. Discipline. So thanks to you and Tom Deere at that first Mavo, and Tom it used to be funny that you guys had never seen each other's classes because you were always scheduled at the same time.
Yep.
Tom taught me about treating your business like a business.
Yeah.
You get up in the morning, shower, shave, as we say. You can bleep that if you want, fix it in post. Brush your teeth, go down, take a shower, get dressed, go have breakfast.
Yep.
Have your coffee and get to work. Mm-hmm. Treat it as if you're going to work. And if you do that, you will be more successful than don't let the couch. I've heard you say that before. Don't let the couch catch you.
Yep.
You sit on the couch all day, binging reruns of Friends or The Wire.
And wondering why your business isn't taking off.
And wondering why it's not taking off, right?
Yep.
Or you can go, set your times. In my accountability group, which still has a member from our mastermind group, we just talked about that yesterday. Do you different methods for either blocking time, or now we started doing a study hall. So every Monday at noon, don't call me Monday at noon, because I will be sitting at my computer on Zoom with all my accountability group, and we will be working in silence.
Yep.
Study hall. Because
just knowing that the other people are there and watching, you don't even have to communicate with each other. Just knowing they're there is enough to make you do the thing that you might not have otherwise done.
The guilt of not doing the work while you're
Nobody wants to be that
there.
one kid that doesn't show up, or that shows up without their homework complete, or Yep.
I had the worst boss I ever had once said, shame is a powerful motivator. Like, no, it's not. That's an awful idea. Shame.
It may be an awful idea, but there's a lot of truth in there.
Guilt is internally imposed. Shame is externally imposed. Right.
Right.
So, he was an in a combat zone. The captain comes in and goes, "Sir, that guy does realize we're all carrying weapons, right?" I probably shouldn't have said that. You can edit that out, Mark, or leave it. 2 days in, the captain had been there 2 days. He does realize we're all armed, right? Don't do anything. All right, where were we? We were talking about money. We were talking about investments.
Timelines.
Timelines.
So give us your timeline. Did you, from where you started, how many years or months or whatever was it before you were like, where was the point where you're like, okay, this is going to work. I can do this. Was there a point when you're like, okay, I've built a healthy business? Like, was it a year? Was it 5 years? Like, what is that? What did it look like for you?
You got to set a goal, right? Like you teach us. Have your North Star, have your 5-year plan, and the stuff that gets you closer, and everything's got to be connected. Well, next Sunday, or this Sunday, as far as I know, unless a phone call comes in, I'm going to fail at my 5-year goal that I set 5 years ago, which was Super Bowl commercial 2024.
I remember that.
But if it's a local spot that runs during the Super Bowl, I'm in. I made it.
That's why you got to get really specific about your goals.
All I said was Super Bowl commercial 2024.
Yep.
Let's face it. I ain't bumping Cranston anytime soon for the F-150, though I would love to, and I love Bryan Cranston. Ford wants Cranston's name behind it. Yep. I'm not bumping what's his name for McAdonaldo's.
Yep.
It's We all probably auditioned for that one, but he's the only one who did it that way. We all sang the tune. Anyways, timeline-wise, depends on the amount of knowledge that you're bringing into it, your aptitude for, because this does take a bit of worldly knowledge. That is important for voiceover. Sure. If you're going to do, someone just sent me a link this morning for a podcast on World War II ships. And one author was griping that every audiobook he listens to mispronounces the names of the ships. Like Oriskany's an easy one to mispronounce. And my friend goes, you should call him up and tell him you do voiceovers. That's part of the research. That's part of the homework. If you're going to do audiobooks, if you're going to do e-learning, you have to have some understanding. If you're going to do medical e-learning, do you need to be a doctor? No. Do you need to be able to say myocardial infarction, rolling it off your tongue? Yes, you do.
Yep.
So a little bit of worldly knowledge, curiosity to continue to learn new things. That's important in our business.
Yep.
The ability to act, or at least the ability to take direction and be willing to learn how to act and acknowledge that maybe you don't know how to act. Acting's not easy. If it were easy, there'd be a bunch of us walking the red carpet every year, wouldn't there?
That's
be?
Right.
It also changes, as another short aside, it has changed how I watch TV and movies.
Pay a little closer attention to things now, eh?
Stop
fast forwarding the commercials.
Well, yeah. Actually, first thing in the morning, I do, before I feed the dog, I rewind the TV 1 hour because I know it's going to be the same commercials, and I'll sit and have my coffee and my breakfast and just click through the commercials and get to okay, there's the weather. Click, click, click. Okay, there's the Today Show. Oh crap, time to get to work. Right. So you do. I think it builds a better understanding of the characters and how the characters interact, and sure. I think I follow the storylines better.
Yep.
It's just it feels different to me. It may just be because I'm freaking old now.
You just want to be able to say that it's research so you can write it off on your taxes. Let's be honest.
It's video game time, isn't it? Don't let the couch catch you. Let's see. Where were we? So we were back on timeline, and we were with worldly knowledge, discipline. So when when the kitchen lights shut off at 9 a.m., like Alexa told it to, just hoping everything doesn't duck right.
You just set off everybody's home automations, but right. That's okay.
At 9 o'clock, when those lights go off, I look at the dog and I go, time to get to work. Yep. And I either go upstairs or I go downstairs. Or if something was due at 9, then that's pushed up an hour. Like if it came in late at night and I didn't feel like doing it, but it's due at 9 a.m., then 8 o'clock becomes that time to go down and get to work.
Yep.
And, you know, I'm the biggest sinner in the world for this. Take a break for lunch. Take a break
Sometimes I remember. Lots of times I forget.
Yeah. And then, it's 3:45. I'll just skip lunch and wait for dinner. Dinner's in a couple hours. I'll be fine. Have another cup of coffee. So the discipline to, as you say, I still want to take credit, carry the message to Garcia, to do the thing. And if you haven't read, ladies and gentlemen, A Message to Garcia, it's a 10-minute read. If you pay attention to it, it will change your life.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah. Just do the thing. The world cries out for someone who will just do the thing.
Yep.
Carry the message to Garcia. And it takes money, or it takes hunger, but not desperation.
Yeah. Good way to put it.
If you have to keep a roof over the kids' heads,
it can be very motivating.
That is very motivating.
When the rent is still due or the mortgage is still due or whatever, it is very motivating. Yep. Yeah. I remember those days well.
This is not, if you don't have something saved up to sustain, this is not a business to go, you know what, I'm going to quit my job tomorrow and I'm going to become a voice actor. If I did not have a military pension coming in and a wife working full-time as a clinical director at an outpatient surgery center, I would not be doing voiceover.
Yep. Yeah, I think back to when I first started my first year. I mean, I scraped by, like literally scraped by, but it was just me, right? I could not have done that if I was married with kids at that point in time. I could not have done that first year the way that I did it. But yeah. So I know you're teaching a class at VO Atlanta for new voice actors who are looking to learn some of these things. Tell us a little bit about this class and what people are going to learn out of it.
So I looked at the VO Atlanta kind of schedule last year. I think if you go to any conference and have people, show of hands, how long you've been in this, I'm just going to swag it. 60% are in their first couple years.
I think that's probably fair.
But there was, and it always cycles through, right? Mm-hmm. Not everybody goes to every conference. Yep. One of my business goals is hit a conference or event per quarter.
Yeah.
Right. And now there's one available every quarter, sometimes 2 or 3.
Yep.
Some of them more established than others. Hopefully not the same speakers at every conference. Anyways, I looked at the thing last year and said, there's nothing for newcomers. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stuff that's advanced or intermediate, but stuff that they're not quite ready for. Like you're not ready to, you're not ready to do video games with Randall Ryan if you have 0 experience.
Yeah.
doing video games.
Promo with Joe Cipriano, his master class or whatever. If you've never even recorded your first audition yet
Commercial.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just that would be a bad investment.
Yep.
Joe Cipriano is never a bad investment, but
no, we love Joe.
You will
very
get
much.
more out of it. He's awesome. My God, one of the kindest human beings walking this earth.
You got to be ready though, right? You got to be realistic about where you're at. You got to be ready.
It's a waste. It's a good future investment if you are suited to promo.
Yep. Or whatever animation or characters or gaming or whatever, right? Whatever genre. Like we're just talking in general. If you're brand new in voiceover and you're just coming in and signing up for all these X sessions, but you're still not, booking yet, that you're not, it's not the time to be making those investments. So this is for those people. This class is for those people, right?
This is kind of, here's all the stuff you need. What did we title it? All the shit you need to know about voiceover that nobody told you need to know, but you need to know. Something like that. Yeah, it started as
all those things that you discover that we tend to discover the hard way. Let's put together a class that will help people to avoid having to learn the lessons the hard way.
Make good investments.
Yeah.
Instead of
spending money.
You don't need to buy a $1,000 microphone and a $1,000 interface and a $3,000 Mac Studio or $4,000 in Canadian dollars in order to get started.
Yeah.
You can use your earbuds on your iPhone for your initial coaching sessions.
Yep.
Figure out if you like it first before you spend $5,000 on gear.
Yep.
There's your first quarter of the 20s. $5,000 on gear is easy to do. So someone had spent a bunch of money. This call back to about 45 minutes ago. Someone had bought a bunch of great gear, right? Set up in a closet with nothing in it. So the reflection's going to be awful. They did their homework on the gear. They made smart investments on the gear. So they're not buying, continuously upgrading. Like I'm going from which microphone brand am I going to insult right now? Like a Super B or whatever.
Yep.
Paul Stefano's probably going to chime in. I actually like my Super B. And you made me think of something I have to add to the class, and then I forgot it. So I'll write it down later, or I'll listen to the episode.
Listen to it; it'll kick in again.
It'll trigger what the idea was. That person isn't going to buy multiple microphones over the years, just like my mom talked about the furniture. Bought a good microphone. This 416. You can't see that 416 is my workhorse.
Yep.
And occasionally I'll do the 102. I know Roy doesn't like it for audiobooks because it sounds like I'm being yelled at for an hour. So if I do an audiobook, I'll bring the TLM 102 in here because it's a little nicer on my voice than a 103. I'm waiting for a bigger space for the U87.
Goals. It's good to have goals.
Yeah. So making those smart investments early, setting up your business, going through the branding process. I mean, we've only got 50 minutes to cover all these topics.
It's a lot of information to go
hitting
through.
Wave tops.
Yeah.
I think the thing was about X sessions. You mentioned X sessions.
Signing up for all the X sessions before you're, thinking that that's the way to spend all your money when you get there, but
you don't know what
maybe not year one of VO Atlanta, right? Maybe year two of VO Atlanta. Like
you know what they need to do on year one of VO Atlanta? They need to sign up for Team Challenge.
You can learn a lot.
Oh my God. And
talking about a crash course right there.
Half a dozen lifelong friends.
Yep. 100%.
Yep.
So if you are newer, you're trying to get started, you want to get started the right way, you want to avoid the mistakes, you want to avoid the bad investments, you want to watch out for the wrong coaches or the wrong demo producers and all that sort of stuff. This class is going to be at VO Atlanta, which is going to be crazy this year. I'm really excited to be back again, but keep an eye out for that one on the schedule because there are definitely some things that you will learn from that. And man, if we can help even a handful of people to avoid some of the mistakes or some of the pitfalls that cost a lot of money. Like, there is nothing worse than doing your first demo, which you probably had to scrimp and save for in the first place, and then realize that it's not even marketable and you got to do it again. Like that is so disheartening. That could be the end for some people right there, right? That like their career could be over before it even started. And so if we can help people avoid that, then it is absolutely worth it. So keep an eye out for it on the VO Atlanta schedule. We'll put it in the show notes as well, so that people can find it. And do you happen to know by chance when it is on the schedule?
I mean, either 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock Saturday morning, and then right after that one, then Bridget we did a little schedule manipulation so that they would come out in order. And then Bridget's doing her How to Knuckle Down class right after that, which is fantastic. And then,
so don't stay up too late on Friday night, because you got to get to the session on Saturday morning.
It's not that early. It's 8
o'clock in the morning is very early for me, but that's just me. But it's a good one that would be worth it. Well, Patrick, thank you so much for coming on and for sharing some of your story and some of your experience in this. I know that it is hard. It is one of the hardest parts when you're starting out. The internet makes it so easy for anybody to have a platform and for anybody to position themselves as an expert. And it makes it easy to get taken advantage of and get connected with the wrong people or making the wrong investments or doing things the wrong way. And so hopefully this information helps people to avoid some of those mistakes. So thank you for coming on and sharing, and hopefully we saved a few people from some of that heartache.
One last point to finish off the coaching thing. No good coach is going to pitch you directly. Get your coaching recommendations from a trusted person who's been around the industry. They're going to say, go work with this person. And then you do that 15-minute interview. And if you're looking forward to the next date, then it's probably going to be good. Person. If you're not leaving with that feeling, don't make the investment.
Right on. Good advice. All right, man. Thank you.